This podcast is brought to you by the Down the Middle podcast and by Casa de Liziza.
Excuse me. Yeah.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Part of Your Broadway World Podcast. Today we are talking with Jake from the RA podcast, the Toon Talk 2.0 podcast, and the Average Intelligence podcast about West Side Story. So let's welcome him in.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing good. I got a new setup.
I saw. I like it.
I like these lights better. These lights are way better.
I'm just digging the color changing.
No, I am too.
No, I do like the playbills. I do
Yeah.
really like the playbills in the back.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And then what
Yeah.
are those in the other side? Are those keys? What are those?
These?
Uh-huh.
They are. It's a poster. It's a poster of all the costumes of every single show that's been on Broadway
No shit.
in history.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Where did you find that?
I found this on Amazon.
All the best stuff is on Amazon.
And I found these on Amazon too, which I'm like, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
I saw your playbill pack. I didn't realize you got it on Amazon, but I saw the unboxing for that. I thought that was really cool. Although I thought they were just yours. I thought they were those you had been to.
Well, the ones I have are still on my door because I tried to get them off and transfer them to my billboard here, but I can't. I can't get them off. So they're stuck on the doors. But so I just got different ones.
So it's your show today. I'm just along for the ride.
Exactly.
I like being along for the ride. It's new. It's exciting.
You're my prisoner now. I can do whatever I want.
I'm not scared.
So today we're talking about West Side Story.
That we are.
Both West Side Stories.
Yes.
So
Yes, we are.
So what did you think of? Well, first of all, what did you think of the newer one?
I really loved it, and I know that because it didn't do well at the box office, but remind everybody, was it 2021 or 2022? I can't remember now. I think it was 2022.
22.
Yeah, 22. But it was still like theaters had just opened back up, and there were still a lot of people that were scared of going out in public. I wasn't. And just the fact that unfortunately musicals aren't really in vogue right now or then, in terms of like the general populace, because there's always a group of people that are, musical theater geeks. But as far as them being in vogue right now, they just aren't. So I think it was a combination of COVID scare and the fact that the marketing was kind of pathetic for it, which that was just the studios reacting to COVID anyway. It didn't get the love that it deserved because technically speaking, it's a masterpiece. It looks incredible. It's a beautifully shot movie, which when I heard they were remaking West Side Story, I went, oh no. But then I saw that Steven Spielberg was directing and I was like, okay, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. And it was phenomenal. And what it did, because I love the original, but it took the more dated aspects of the original and made them better.
Yep.
There were a couple of this is the best way I can describe it is there were a couple of choices that they made for the newer version that I wouldn't have made, but they were so minor, like it doesn't ruin the movie at all. And then there were quite a few changes that I was like, oh, I like this. Like everybody's character is much more fleshed out. Tony and Bernardo in particular, because they actually have backstories now. Like you know that Bernardo's a boxer, and you know, they actually make it a point. It was a line that I didn't notice the first few times, but then I rewatched both for, you know, our podcast today. And when Riff is challenging Bernardo to the Rumble, Bernardo kind of just goes, listen, we got jobs. Like we're busy. And I'm like, I like that. I like the fact that, you know, the Sharks, all the Puerto Ricans they make it a point to show that they're working very, very hard. But the sense you get from both movies, but I would say probably the newer one a little bit more, is that at the end of the day, they're all kids.
Right.
Like every single one of them is a kid. The Jets in particular, and I to me, this is the same in both movies. The Jets come off a little bit more juvenile than the Sharks do, but at the end of the day, they are all kids. Because it's like, as an adult in my 30s watching this movie, I'm just like, somebody really should have taught you guys conflict resolution skills, because all of this could have been avoided. Like every bit of it, even with the gang rivalry in place. Like it's just it's kind of like I don't know, do you watch Shameless?
Yes, I love Shameless.
Okay, so you understand. It's so frustrating to see people just ruin their lives when it's like basic communication skills could go a very long way here.
Or even just having like a mediator in the situation with like someone to like help with the conflict of resolution. In my opinion, having a mediator be like, all right, you want this, we're gonna draw the line and create some peace so then no one dies.
Yeah, well, the overarching theme of this story, though, at least as far as I can tell, is that you'll never overcome hatred until there's a loss.
Right.
And it takes both sides to lose multiple people. Well, I think the Sharks only lose Bernardo, right?
Yeah.
I think, yeah. So, but technically, the Puerto Rican side loses too, and technically the Jets lose too. It's just one of those people happens to be the same person, because Maria loses Tony.
Yeah.
But it's only after, and they have to see it with their own eyes. They can't just be told about it. It's only after Riff, and technically the violence between the Jets and the Sharks stops. Well, actually, no, I take that back, because of the whole thing with Anita.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, take that. Let's walk that back.
I was gonna say Anita gets.
Yeah, let's walk. Yeah, we got to walk that back.
Yeah.
My mistake. Yeah, walk that way back. But yeah, it takes both sides to experience tragedy for them to realize, the hell are we fighting for? Like, this is dumb.
Right. No, and I agree. And I would like to point out too, after watching this movie, I'm thinking, wow, this really, I don't know how, but like this movie has a lot to do with like you like think about it really, and there's like a lot of stuff that you can point out that like happens in today's society too.
Yeah.
Like just the themes.
Yeah, well, that's why it's a story that, which again, this is modeled off of Romeo and Juliet, but this one, I think West Side Story kind of takes the Romeo and Juliet shell and turns it into a little bit more of a modern sense of like anti-hatred messaging. You still have the star-crossed lovers angle of it, but you know, and then they well, in the first one, they really do just make it about straight up racism. And it's still there in the new one, but there's a little bit more to it.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things that I like, because they go out of their way to explain how, and it's so very subtle when they show the racism in the police too.
Yep.
Because like they definitely don't like the Puerto Ricans being there, but at the same time, they don't like these delinquent kids running around, and they make it a point to be like, "You're giving us a bad name." He
Right.
doesn't say that exactly, but he's talking about it. It's like, this neighborhood ain't even yours no more. Everybody that was worth a damn moved out,
Right.
but you're still here. And they
Right.
make it a point, they do make it a point to, in the second one, they make more of an effort to show that the Jets are not marginalized, but forgotten. They're ignored. And you can kind of see how a bunch of kids with nothing to do and nobody really paying attention to them, you can see how they got to where they are. Maybe not all of them, but you can see how it happens. And then you've got the influx of immigration that was happening in the 50s in New York at that time with, Puerto Ricans coming in, a lot of Puerto Ricans coming in. And of course, these dumb kids are going to be like, they're invading because they don't have anybody sensible to tell them. It's like, no, this is like,
Right.
cool your
Exactly.
jets, pun intended, you know. But then you can understand how the Sharks formed, because that's essentially how gangs started in the United States, was immigrant groups coming in.
Yep.
And in New York, actually, you had immigrant groups coming in, and you just got a bunch of people that banded together and said, okay, well, the local police aren't going to protect us and our people, so we're going to do it.
Mhm.
So that's how, gangs even started in the 1800s in New York.
Mhm. Right.
So you totally understand how it happens.
And then, and continuing on with that, I do want to talk a little bit about what happens to Anita.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to bring that up.
No, and you do, and it's a very, to me, that's the scene where I have to word this carefully because I don't want to be misconstrued. It's in a it I'm glad the scene happens, even though particularly in the new one, it's hard to watch. It's rough to watch, but it has to happen because that's the moment where the mirror gets held up to them
Mhm.
for the Jets.
Yep.
That's when the mirror gets held up to them, and they're like, "Oh, we're
Mhm.
pieces of shit too."
Yeah. And that's like when Rita Moreno's character was like, look
Hmm.
at you all, look at what you did to this poor woman, for shame, you know?
Well, and it happened to Rita Moreno in the original, so
Yeah. And that's what I was going to bring up too. It happened because she was Anita. Or, yeah.
yeah,
She's
yeah,
Anita.
and they brought her in to play the Doc character, which I think they
Yeah.
call her Doc in the new one, but she was
Yeah.
she was married to him. Which, it's funny because I haven't seen too many people say bad things about that, but my whole thing was like, I really don't care if Doc's a woman or not, and it gets Rita Moreno in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for it, and
Mm-hmm.
she does good.
Mm-hmm.
That fun fact though, that's one of the only changes I would make to the new movie, and I understand why they did it. They wanted to give Rita Moreno a musical number.
Mm-hmm.
Doc is not supposed to sing, what is it, Someday or Somewhere? I can't remember the name of the song.
Somewhere.
Yeah, Somewhere.
Somewhere.
That's supposed to be Tony and Maria.
Yeah.
Doc singing it actually doesn't make any sense.
No.
That being said,
No.
she did a good job, and I love that song.
Yeah.
I love that song, but it's supposed to be a duet with Tony and Maria.
Yeah.
So that's probably my biggest nitpick, but it doesn't ruin the movie for me because we still get it in the original. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah,
And
what about that
then,
scene? Because I feel like you had a question.
yeah, I was going to say, like, well, it wasn't really much of a question. It was more of like a general understanding of like, you know, in that scene, Anita gets assaulted.
Yeah.
Um, and and you were talking about like it being like kind of like a mirror being held up to all the Jets.
Hmm.
And in today's society, I feel like that's also like today's society too. Like, someone needs to be held accountable like for things like that. And
I'm gonna try to speak to this because it's so interesting how my life happens sometimes, because, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn here or anything like that, but it's interesting that we're talking about this because this happened to me just yesterday. or the day before. I think it was the day before, but it happened this week. So with my job, I will sometimes I have to go out to people's houses and take measurements.
Right.
While I was there, it was just because we're doing a kitchen for a couple and their family, and it was just the wife that was there.
Mhm.
And so like I would never do anything like that to somebody, but I can understand how my presence could come across or make somebody feel uncomfortable. So I'm making a conscious effort to not get, not be too close, but at the same time not be like so far away that I'm being creepy. And
Right.
and things like don't move too quickly. If I have something to say, like make sure that I get, somebody's attention in a way that's not gonna like make a wrong impression or startle anyone. And I was
Mhm.
thinking afterwards, I wasn't consciously doing that. I just realized I was doing it about midway through, and I was like, "Huh, that's very interesting." Um, and then and then you're bringing this up. I do think a lot of people are very clueless about that, and that's one of the things where because I mean, you know me well enough now that I don't want to make anybody uncomfortable, but at the same
Right.
time, sometimes you can be a bit oblivious. We all do it. Um, but I think there are a lot of people in society at large who are just really clueless, like,
Yep.
and they don't understand how even their mere presence could potentially make someone feel uneasy. And at the same time, it's really, I don't know. This is an interesting perspective from you, though. So this is kind of a question for you. Do you think that if, like, let's say somebody's just like really large and imposing and could very easily make people feel uneasy if they don't
Mhm.
know them, right?
Mhm.
Do you think they have a responsibility to kind of, do what I did and kind of do their best to make themselves as not intimidating? What am I trying to say? Like send the nonverbal cues that, hey, we're all good here. Nothing bad's happening.
I think yes, because if you don't do that, then that just gives people like the thought in their head, like, oh, I can do whatever I want. I can do this. I can do whatever I want to this person because they didn't
Yeah,
say no.
that's kind of where I'm at, but I'm sure somebody at some point is going to see this and be like, "Oh, I can't believe you care that much." It's like, well, you know, because things have happened in our society, very, very unfortunate things, you kind of have to be conscious of that, I believe.
Mhm.
And then there's scenes like this that kind of put it out for all to see
Mhm.
and bear, and it is very uncomfortable. I know it was very uncomfortable for me to watch, but at the same time, I'm like, wow, this is necessary because you have to understand the gravity of what's happening.
Right.
So, and there's lots of scenes and lots of movies like that, and sort of my metric for those as to whether they're good or not is one, is this essential to the plot? And does it get to a point where it's gratuitous? And
Mhm.
this scene passes with flying colors. Because, yes, after everything the Jets have done up to that point, it's been somewhat reciprocal, or at least you can make the argument like, well, they
Mhm.
jumped us, so we jumped them. But that's the moment where you realize, oh, they're pieces of shit.
Yep. Yep.
And let's make no mistake, the Sharks probably wouldn't have been any better, and I think that's the point. But there was no story mechanism for the Sharks to be in the same room with any of like the Jet squads.
Mhm.
So Anita was the the character in the plot that could
Mhm.
actually be there at that time.
Right. Like
And
there's no plot line for where like Maria would have been alone with like the others. You know what I mean?
I mean, there could have been, but it wouldn't. You would have had to rewrite basically the entire story. So yeah,
Right. Right.
yeah. But what I mean is like Riff's girlfriend would never have been alone with the Sharks. There would have been no reason to. That's what I'm getting at.
Hmm. Speaking of Riff, though, can we talk about the fact that like Mike Fast, who played Connor in Dear Evan Hansen, the musical plays
And absolutely killed it.
oh, he killed
I
it.
mean, kill. You know what? You know what though, and I mean, trust me, I'm not a dancer, so I cannot cut up anybody's dancing. I'm a big fan of the original Riff. What was it? Hang on, I got Russ Tamblyn.
Hmm.
I like his dancing more, but holy crap, the acting in the new one for Riff specifically, which let's be okay. I have to say something, but there's a caveat. The acting is way better in the newer version, but that it's a different kind of acting.
Mm,
So I'm not cutting up the original. They were essentially doing a stage play that was recorded.
right.
Whereas this movie, because of, the decisions they were making with camera movements and whatnot, it was a much more intimate
Hmm.
kind of like contemporary movie. So the actors' performances could be a lot more dynamic.
Hmm.
And wow, but Riff in particular though. I remember when he first came on screen, I was kind of like, I don't know about this. But then he started talking and I was like, oh, this guy's he gets it. He gets Riff. How's it going, everybody? It's Jake from the Down the Middle Podcast, and I want to take a quick moment to invite you to check out our show, which airs every other Thursday at 8:30 p.m. on YouTube. If you love pro wrestling, you're definitely going to want to check this out. We talk about the latest in pro wrestling. AEW's pay-per-views are rough, man, and it's obvious, like, Tony Khan is booking for Tony Khan, and it's obvious because Tony Khan has clinical freaking ADHD, but the kind where like you can hyper focus on the thing you love. He's like, I legitimately want to watch wrestling for 7 hours. It's like, Tony,
Not everybody else does.
hardly
Hardly
anybody else
Yeah.
does. We talk about some of our favorite things in pro wrestling.
One of the best promos ever. Like, can we just say, like, I had fucking goosebumps. And here's the thing, I know it's a work, but I'm watching that and I'm like, I think MJF might have duped somebody.
And we have a hot take here and there too.
Nothing against Riho. It's just like, do you think the audience is fucking stupid? Riho weighs 98 pounds.
The vast majority of great moments in professional wrestling have nothing to do with the move. Don't get me wrong, the moves are part of it. Cena's like, I don't even remember how I won. Everybody remembers this. But the best part about our show is that you are part of the conversation. So check out the show and join in the fun.
And then there's the character, which I don't think in the other movie, in the original movie, they gave her a name. The girl. Oh my god.
Riff's girlfriend?
No, the girl in the Jets. There was like a
Yeah.
girl. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Riff's girlfriend.
Okay.
They did, and they mention it in the first one, and I cannot remember it though, for the life of me. And I feel bad about that. But yeah, she does get a lot more. Everybody gets more fleshed out in the new version, though. Like, let's be real.
Isn't it like in the new version, like
Yeah, she was Tony's ex.
she was Tony's ex.
Yeah, and they acknowledge it in the new version, and Tony even says, like, hey, it's all good, and that's the other thing. Tony is way better. I love Tony's character much more in the new movie because he has a reason. Because in the first one, he kind of comes across as a goody two shoes, whereas in this one, you understand why he doesn't want to fight. Now, outside of Maria, you understand why he doesn't want to fight at all because they go into the backstory. He almost killed somebody.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then went to juvie for it,
Right. And I just looked it up. Their name is Iris Menez, and their character's name is Anybody's. That's what they called it. Anybody's.
I thought Anybody's was the tomboy that was running around, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's not Riff's girlfriend. That's the
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
We're talking about two different people.
Yeah, we are. I was like, wait a minute. No. Because I said yes, and then after I said yes, I was like, wait, really?
Wait,
What?
no.
Oh.
Oh, okay, yeah. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. And that's like the first trans character in something like that.
Was she trans though?
Yeah, they were.
Did they ever?
Yeah.
Did they ever explicitly say that?
I don't
Certainly
think they said it.
Not in the first one. The first one,
No.
she was just a tomboy, but
Yeah, no, but in the newer one,
Huh.
they're trans. Go by they them, and
Do they? I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
Huh? Kind of wish if that was intentional. I kind of wish they'd been more explicit with it.
Mhm.
Huh? No, I did not notice that.
Mm.
But yeah, I don't know. The character's certainly more enjoyable in the first movie but she's also played in the first movie. She's played more as a joke, so I get
Yeah.
it. But there is a moment in both of them. But I think it's a little bit sweeter in the first one where it's anybody's, right?
Yep.
Yeah, anybody's brings the information to the new Jets leader after spoiler alert, Riff gets stabbed. And she she brings it to him, and then he looks at her and goes, "Hey, you done good, buddy boy." Like that's an acknowledgement of respect.
Yeah.
It's a little bit sweeter. It happens in the new version too, but it's a little bit sweeter, I think, in the original.
Mm-hmm. But like circling back to because we were talking about the assault that Anita had and everything, and then the most chilling line after like of Ariana DeBose after it happens, after she leaves and she stops and she's like, "You tell Tony that Maria is dead," or something like that.
Yeah, and it weighs pretty heavy in both versions, but in the new one, I mean, and shout out though, and I apologize to all the wonderful actors, but when I get on a podcast, I lose all memory functions. So, and you just said her name too, Ariana DeBose. Kills it as Anita.
I loved
Absolutely
her.
kills it.
America.
She's so funny.
That song, America, killed it. Killed it.
I go back and forth on this. I like the performance a little bit. The song to me comes across as a little bit funnier in the first movie.
Yeah.
But you can't deny the scale and the dancing of the new movie is, oh my God, it's so great.
Yeah.
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
And the other thing that the new movie does is you really get a broader sense of the Puerto Rican community as opposed to just the kind of insular world of the Sharks. But yeah, so that dance number just in the streets and everything, that's so much fun.
Where like he wants to go back, but like she wants to stay in America.
Well, you get that sense in the original too. I'm referring to the dance. I'm referring to the dance, but God, that song is hilarious. That song is so funny.
It is. And my favorite of all time in that song is just like he's trying to convince her to be like, okay, yeah, let's just go back, and she's just not having it. She's
like, no. But I just love the back and forth. That song is so witty, and I just love the back and forth. It's like, I have my own washing machine. What will you have though to keep clean?
It's like
the funny thing is, I was thinking about this song because a couple weeks ago I actually went on a cruise, and one of the stops was San Juan, Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there and I'm just like humming America in my head, and I'm like, that's so funny. I think I actually said it. It's like, I could go back to San Juan.
And then like her line, I know what boat you can get on.
You can get on. It's like, I do too. In fact, I got to get back there or they'll leave me here.
Oh, so
I understand
funny.
the beginning of that song now too, because San Juan is hot as fuck.
Is it?
It's so hot. I went in July, so
yeah.
But like, oh, it was so hot. It's the kind of hot where you walk outside and sweat. Like it was warm. It was warm. Loved it. It was pretty cool of what I saw of it, but yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But yeah,
I'd like to go back. I'd like to go back to San Juan as well, but I don't think anyone there will give big cheers when I get off that boat. And be like, who the fuck are you? You want to buy some shit?
They'll be like, what the fuck are you? Why are you here? Get back on the boat. Go.
Another tourist.
Oh,
Actually, I have to share. This didn't happen so much in Puerto Rico, but it did happen in Dominican Republic. So my nephew is actually half Puerto Rican. Doesn't speak a word of Spanish though. But I do. So we're in the Dominican Republic because a lot of people in Puerto Rico speak English too, where we were, because it's where all the cruise ships dock. But in Dominican Republic, like, they all speak English too, but they're a little bit more apt to speak Spanish if you start the conversation. And they'll start the conversation in Spanish with him though, because he looks very Hispanic, like
Right.
he's very brown. So everybody just assumed in the Dominican Republic that he spoke Spanish. And then they say they say basic greetings to him, and he just kind of stare at him and not know what to do. And then I would come in, the whitest dude on
Whitest
planet Earth,
man in history.
like, yeah, and start speaking Spanish and explain like he doesn't speak Spanish. And then this happened many times. And then there was another hilarious moment where, oh god, these two girls in one shop are just ragging on him so bad because they're like, you need to learn Spanish. And I'm like, Andy needs to learn how to dance. And they're like, yeah, you need to learn how to dance too, blah 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 blah. And he's just like, can we go now? But then we were in another shop too, and we were looking at these shirts because we learned the hard way that you want a sort of breezy shirt in these climates. So we were like, we should probably buy some of these if we're going to be going out onto these islands.
Right.
So the girl in the shop was helping us, and she spoke English, so we're having the conversation completely in English, except my nephew then says, I had my eye on that one. And the look on her face, she was just so confused. And then I said, oh, dude, you can't say that to her because, like, yeah, she speaks English, but these turns of phrase that you like to use, like, she understands the words, but to her they make no sense. She's like, what do you mean your eyes on it? So then I had to explain, and I just turned her in Spanish and I said he likes the blue one. It's funny though, because people don't think about that.
No.
They really don't. Like even me, a lot of times when I'm speaking Spanish and I want to say something, I'm like, oh, I can't say it that way though, because that's gonna sound stupid. Like it's not gonna translate properly. Like the words are there, but you can't say it that way because it's not gonna compute the way it does in English. Because what did I say? I said the other day, I tried to say I can't outwork stupid. Doesn't translate well. Doesn't translate well at all. Which it kind of stinks because there's a lot of really good turns of phrase in English that just don't translate, and they'll translate to Spanish, but they sound super boring.
Yeah.
And very like matter of fact. And then there's turns of phrase in Spanish that just make no sense whatsoever, and you're like, that, like, I know the words, but that still doesn't make sense.
No.
They're like, I don't know, we just say it. And I'm like, well, it doesn't make sense. But yeah, fun fact. I was gonna say maybe that's why the Sharks and Jets don't understand each other, but the Sharks all speak English, so whatever.
Yeah. Oh.
Anyway,
that's hilarious. That's hilarious.
It's truly funny. I love dropping my Spanish on unsuspecting people, though. I love the looks I get because I do get customers and clients from time to time that Spanish is their first language, and they may not have like a super perfect grasp of English. So if I can tell they're struggling, I'll bust out the Spanish with them, and then the look of surprise and simultaneous relief on their faces, I love it. It's priceless.
Like, what is this white man doing speaking Spanish?
I get that a lot. I do get that a lot. They're like, why did you learn Spanish? And I'm like, well, I speak French too. I speak French and German too. I mean, they're all right there together.
Oh, that's funny. That's hilarious.
I love it. I just watched the clip from I Love Lucy where they're in France, and Lucy accidentally tries to pay with counterfeit money, so they're at the police station. But the main cop only speaks French. I'm sorry, the main cop speaks French and German. The other cop speaks German and Spanish. They have a guy in the drunk tank that speaks German and Spanish, and they translate it from French to German to Spanish to Spanish, and then Ricky translates it to English. It's a great bit. It's so funny. Especially when you speak enough of the three languages that they're using that you can discern and know what they're saying, and you're like, oh yeah, that's legit. Like that's actually, yeah, that's how you would say that. It's a great bit.
I have to look that up later because I need to watch this.
I can send it to you. It was on TikTok.
Yeah, okay.
It's
okay,
so funny. So funny.
Oh my gosh, it sounds hilarious. I love Lucy, so
who doesn't? Like, seriously, if you don't like I Love Lucy, what are you even doing with your life? It's in the name. Like, you love Lucy or get the fuck out.
Or hit the door.
Don't let it hit you on the way out.
Yeah,
'Cause
exactly.
you're not welcome here.
You're good. You're leaving, and I'm locking the door behind you.
Yeah, get out.
Uh, so we talked about the assault. We talked about Anita. We've talked about her greatest performance ever we talked about Ariana DeVos's amazing performance as Anita because she's
Mhm.
amazing.
What's the scene where she starts? There's a scene where she's visibly crying, and again, not because I love Rita Moreno. I love Rita Moreno,
Me too.
but at that time, you couldn't show tears the same way,
Mhm.
like on film. So I'm not cutting up her performance, but Ariana DeBose, there's a scene in that movie where she's crying, and it's just like, God damn, that's such good acting. Because it's not just crying, it's simultaneous, like not even sadness, just straight up grief
Mhm.
and rage at the same time.
Yeah.
And that doesn't seem like it's hard to do, but it's very hard to do
Yeah.
and convey that.
Yeah.
And just bravo. Didn't she win? She won an award of some
I
kind. I
think
can't
so.
remember
Yeah,
what.
she is. She won a Golden Globe.
That's right. For
Golden Globe
supporting
for it.
actress, yes.
Yep. And I got so
well
happy.
deserved. Well deserved.
Yeah.
I also just love
And-
in the new one that everybody does their own singing and dancing. Which
Yeah.
I mean, everybody did their own dancing in the first one, but virtually nobody did their own singing, and
Mhm.
it's just like just hire people that can sing and dance. They're everywhere.
Right. And Andrew Garfield also won for Tick Tick Boom.
Yeah, I need to watch that because I hear it's amazing.
It's amazing. You need to watch it.
I've
And-
heard.
Yes.
I've heard. It's got to be better than Hamilton.
Still pissed at you for
I'm
ruining.
sorry. I didn't ruin it. Lin-Manuel Miranda ruined it.
Well, I didn't catch it until you mentioned it, and then I thought about it, and I'm pissed.
Don't get mad at me. I didn't write it.
CDZ Collegia Musica is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. It is a kind of school of music, a concert series, and an agency that promotes the musicians, dedicated artists, and educators who we feature as our performers. The goal of the Collegium is to bring community together through music performance. These performances vary in musical style from classical to jazz, and music from different parts of the world, from India to the Middle East, that'd be like Persia, and Japan, and China. The goal is to also educate us to how music functions, not so much as a musical universal language, because there are differences in the way that these languages of music are expressed, but to educate us to be able to be more appreciative, not only of the music, but the culture it represents. And by doing this, it brings community together.
For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, so Lin-Manuel Miranda, the talentless hack that he is, in the first, at the end of the first musical number that introduces the whole concept of the play, and side note, like, I'm a history nerd, so I know what happens to Alexander Hamilton, but my biggest critique of storytelling is when the writer, whoever is crafting the story, assumes that the audience knows. You can't do that. You have to assume that you have to craft the story as though your audience knows nothing about what you're talking about,
Right.
because you have to go with the lowest common denominator, meaning that you have to
Right.
assume that people don't know who Alexander Hamilton is if you're going to tell
Right.
a story about his life.
Right.
And when you end the first musical number with Aaron Burr coming out mid-stage and going, and I'm the damn fool who shot him, you know what happens now. And it's not like
Happened. It doesn't mean it's not still not good.
it's not good though. I don't like Hamilton. I didn't care for it at all. I don't like Lin-Manuel Miranda's musical style. I don't like the white rapping. I don't like the
The
I
only
don't
thing I don't like about Lin-Manuel Miranda was the fucking stupidest song in The Little Mermaid. Why did you make Scuttlebutt?
I don't like his style. I don't like it at all. I've seen some of the musical numbers from In the Heights, and there's a cadence that he has that he tries to make it sound, what's the word I'm looking for? He tries to make it sound like musically brilliant, but it's not. It's just a it's super basic and elementary, and yet some people are like, "Oh, it's so brilliant." I'm like, "No, it's not. It's not. It's not good. It's bad. It's basic and I don't like it."
Agree to disagree, but okay.
Well, okay, even in Encanto, the song that everybody loved, what's the name of that Luisa's song?
Oh, surface pressure?
Yes. It's such a basic song. And I don't like it.
I don't like Encanto anyway, so
Really? Okay, so here's the thing about Encanto. Like we're gonna really diverge. I think Encanto was a really cute movie. It just wasn't a great Disney movie. Um,
they're adding in like the tropical they're adding something called the Tropical Americas at Disney World, and Encanto's going to be there.
see that I can see being a good hit. I
Yeah.
really can. My problem with Encanto isn't because I don't think any of the musical numbers were particularly stellar. I know that we don't talk about Bruno as catchy, but it's an exposition song, and that, you know what? That's what I don't like about Lin-Manuel Miranda. He does a lot of musical exposition, and there's a good way to do it and a bad way to do it, because I've praised other people who do musical exposition well, because it is a very good way to give an audience exposition. It's just, for me, Miranda's usually so on the nose about it.
Mhm.
Whereas with, like the legends, oh God, Menken and the duo at Disney during the Renaissance, Alan Menken and the other guy. Anyway, you guys know who I'm talking about. Their musical exposition was like witty and metaphorical, and it made the whole experience enjoyable while giving you information. And I'm sorry, can we please just sing the praises of the lyrics "max laryngitis" in The Little Mermaid, which I totally didn't catch till I was like 33.
I didn't catch it till like I saw the live action, and I'm like, oh shit.
Oh, it's there in the original. It's there. So like that's kind of the two highlights I can give you is Poor Unfortunate Souls versus We Don't Talk About Bruno. Those are my two like epitomes of what
Right.
I'm talking about right here.
Right.
Because Poor Unfortunate Souls is a funny song where Ursula is like totally trying to dupe Ariel, and it's obvious to us that she is, but she's doing it in a way that's not super clean cut. Like it's all in the visuals and everything too. And just in Encanto, it's all just so literal.
Mm. Okay, and not to get off
I don't know.
topic, still, and I'm sorry guys, but I need to point this out. Did you know that Ursula is based off of a drag queen?
I did learn that at one point, and I can't remember the name, but yes, and I mean when I read that, I was like, oh, totally.
I can see that. Yeah,
I see it. I see it. Yeah, I totally see that.
that makes
Well,
total
and I mean,
sense.
Well, I mean, you can't dispute it because the animators who did it are on record
Yeah.
as saying, yeah, we were inspired by this person. I mean, you can't really argue that point.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah, so enough bashing Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Okay, but one last thing is I'm gonna say, and then we can stop with the Lin-Manuel Miranda talk. Um, his directorial debut in Tick Tick Boom, he directed that movie so well.
Wait, he directed it?
Yeah, he directed it.
Oh, we'll see.
Yeah.
Because I dislike him musically. I
Yeah.
haven't at least I haven't knowingly seen his directors work. I know in Hamilton, but he did the whole
Yeah.
shebang. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'll have to check it out because I hear very good things.
Yeah. It's really, 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 really good.
Hey, mediocre actors become great directors all the time. So
And like there's like a scene where they have like every single like actor on Broadway in one scene as different
that's pretty
things in
cool.
the movie, and I'm like, yay.
That's pretty cool.
Because when that movie when that movie came out on Netflix, I it was still like Broadway was still shut down. So
Yeah.
to be able to see everybody that's on Broadway in one scene, like I'm so happy.
It's funny because it's whenever I have a conversation, and frankly, whenever I watch your show, I always have the same thought where it's like, God, I got to start watching more. I got to start watching more plays, like going to see more plays because I miss it. It's been a while, and it's interesting though because West Side Story is the reason I got into musical theater in the first place.
Mm.
Um, it's a kind of a silly story, but that's why West Side Story is my favorite musical because it holds a very special place in my heart because I'd seen West Side Story before. It was kind of like when I was in, grade school and middle school, it was kind of the de facto movie they would put on if there was a substitute.
Yeah.
So I'd seen particularly in music classes, but even outside of them, like there was one point where I was in like an English class. I'm like, why are we watching West Side Story?
Right.
In elementary school? This seems a little like start pulling knives out. This seems a little inappropriate, but
This is
but
not the movie for like 7-year-olds.
yeah, I don't know that. Yeah, I mean it's not particularly bad, but at the same time, I kind of think this might be going over our heads a smidge.
Yeah.
But there was one time, and it was in middle school. I think I was 13 or 14, and they put it on in band because our teacher was gone. And I don't know what it was. For some reason, it just clicked in my brain. I was like, "Oh, this is amazing." And I fully appreciated everything about it. The story, the music behind it, how the musical scene, how the musical numbers integrated into the story.
Mhm.
Because up to that point it was kind of and this is a symptom of the time that I was living in. It wasn't boys liking musicals meant you were gay and like it was lame and you can't be caught dead liking musical theater because that's just not it wasn't a cool thing to do even though I was a raging nerd so it would have made complete sense but anyway back to my main point um and at that point I really was like I actually turned to a buddy of mine and I was like this is really good and he's just like we've seen this like 8 times what are you talking about. I don't know what clicked. I literally something just clicked in my head. Maybe I had finally just matured a little bit and was able to appreciate it. But from then on, I got really into. 'Cause I was always aware of Broadway, but it wasn't something that I was like interested in. Which my mother was thrilled when I was like, "Hey, I like Broadway now." But so that was right around the time that Rent was having a bit of a resurgence. It was about a year before the movie had come out.
Mhm.
So when did that come out? That came out in 2005, if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Okay, so no, it was a little bit before that, but this was shortly before like Wicked was first coming out and Rent was having a bit of a resurgence and like I had friends that listened to Avenue Q, which oh my God, hilarious. Um and then just various other shows, take
Yeah.
your pick. I got really into not that long ago, I got really into seeing like Disney musicals on stage because they're amazing.
Yeah.
Like like I hate Be Our Guest in the movie. I love Be Our Guest on stage.
Yeah. They're I think in 2025 adding Frozen on Broadway to Disney Plus.
Ooh, really?
Yep.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that live, but and you know what's funny? I say that, but now that I think about it, I was surrounded when I was growing up. I was surrounded by musicals, but I guess I just didn't click because one of my mother's favorite movies was Mary Poppins, and to this day,
Mhm.
I hate Mary Poppins. I can't stand Mary Poppins. Probably because I was forced to watch it a lot as a kid. But like, do you you might be too young for this. There was a it wasn't Broadway though. I'm trying to remember. They did like a VHS release of a stage production of Peter Pan starring Mary Margaret. And I had that I had that on VHS when I was growing up, so I would like simultaneously watch that and the Disney version. And I loved watching that when I was a kid. And that's actually how I learned at a very young age that it was tradition for Peter Pan to be played by a woman on stage because of that VHS. So I was like, yeah, I say that. And then I'd seen The Sound of Music and The King and I and all those and Chitty Chitty
Yeah.
Bang Bang and all,
Yeah.
the musicals, right?
I love Choo Choo Bang Bang, but I also hate it, and I'll tell you why.
Like, that's kind of how you're
The
supposed to feel about Chitty
child
Chitty
snatch
Bang Bang.
the child snatcher scared the living shit out of me as a kid.
I need to watch it again. It's been a while since I've seen Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I imagine there's probably going to be a lot of a few eyebrow raising moments when I watch that movie again. Yeah, that whole bit, but I remember what you're talking about. That's yeah, I think that makes anybody uncomfortable.
It just made me uncomfortable. I was in as a kid seeing children being snatched by a child snatcher. That just frightened me.
Well, and the thing is, it's like when you're a jaded adult, that has all sorts of other implications. But even at its like most pure sense, like you said, it's still children being snatched.
Yeah.
Like it's never gonna be good.
No.
It's
No.
it's just bad vibes all around. But yeah, but anyway, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, but Dick Van Dyke in that movie is fucking hilarious.
Love Dick Van Dyke. Love Dick Van Dyke. God, he's a national treasure. Is he's still alive, right?
Yes, he's still alive. Thank
Okay.
God. No one touch him.
Yeah, I didn't want to say something bad. I didn't want to say like, oh, it's gonna be a shame when we lose him, and then you feel like he's dead. I'm like, damn it. Can I have one? But yeah, no, we all love who doesn't love Dick Van Dyke? Like seriously.
People that don't love musical theater.
Well, they can. I even like him in Night at the Museum though. He's hilarious in that movie.
Oh, he's hilarious on that.
Oh, he's
So was Robin
to be fair.
Williams.
Oh yeah, he was Teddy Roosevelt, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I was for a split second. I'm like, was Robin Williams in that movie? I'm like, oh
Yeah.
yes, he was. I love Night at the Museum. I like all of them. And it's like, listen, I know that they're popcorn garbage, but I love it.
You know, and his like last scene in the night of the museum was like the day before he died. And that's what makes it even sadder to look back on.
Wow. Thanks for bringing it down.
I'm sorry, I had to. Those were his.
Yeah. Oh.
I'm just really sad because those were his last lines, and I'm like,
Well,
where do we go from here?
so yeah, Tony gets shot in the end.
Oh my god. I knew that you were gonna do that. I love that. I love you for that. Oh my god. So yeah, Tony gets shot at the
It's like
end.
they kill old Yeller too. Just since we're just gonna go down a really dark and depressing path.
Since we're gonna just go down a dark, dark, dark path.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so the point of that really long and drawn out story is that West Side Story is the reason I kind of fell in love with musical theater, or at least it was the spark that made me realize it, because I probably really liked it all along. But unfortunately, when you're young, peer pressure is a little bit stronger. And then certainly by the time you're 30, you really don't give a shit anymore.
Right.
You're just like, I like what I like. And if you don't like
Mhm.
it, then, well, I mean,
Right.
you can go do your thing. But me personally, I'm really scared about Wicked.
What?
Okay, so I'm gonna bring it back to West Side Story, but we'll pivot into it. Trust me, because there's a thing there's a path we're gonna go down.
Okay.
I don't think there's ever been anybody quite like Rachel Zegler in so far as when I first saw them, I really, really liked them. And
Yeah.
then just as time progressed, I'm just like, wow, I really don't like you. To the point where now I have negative feelings when I watched the new movie. In Rachel Zegler was I still liked her. I think she did great job as Maria,
Yeah.
but she's said some things that I now cannot separate from her.
Are you
And
I know what you're talking about. You talking about the Snow White when?
yeah, so we're gonna
Yes.
talk about the giant CGI elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Wow, I just when I saw that trailer, I'm trying to put it correctly into words. For something that was so bright and colorful, there's no soul in it whatsoever.
No.
Everything felt so fake, which
Yeah.
says a lot when the original was literal animation.
Yeah.
But this thing just feels so hollow and empty, and that's what I felt the same thing when I saw the Wicked trailer. To me, it seems so. I hope I'm wrong. I want to preface this by saying I hope I'm dead wrong. I hope it's amazing. I just don't think it will be, because when I saw that trailer, it just seems so overproduced, overly CGI and soulless. And I did also notice, I hope I'm wrong. I don't know why I like lapsed into a Trump mannerism right there. I'm like, I hope I'm wrong.
Hand of like, don't do the Trump right now,
And it's like,
please.
I noticed. Why is she green? I don't get it. But I did notice, and I will admit, Idina Menzel is a very hard act to follow. I get it.
Yeah.
I heard the bit the bit in the trailer where she's doing Defying Gravity.
Mhm.
I don't think it's up to snuff.
How dare you?
I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I do. I hope I'm wrong, but um I do really like Ariana Grande as
I
Glinda
love
though.
Ariana Grande. It's Glinda.
I think that's perfect casting, and I don't even know the actress who they got for Elphaba.
Cynthia Erivo. She was in The Color Purple on Broadway.
That's right. Oh no, on Broadway, not in the movie.
Not in the movie.
Huh. Okay. I'm not, at least I'm not consciously familiar with her.
Mm-mm.
So I can't speak to her work per se, but
Mm.
I mean, I hope it's good because I loved Wicked. I've actually seen Wicked on, it was touring Broadway, but still
Yeah.
I count it. And I still have actually, I have a bootleg of the original Broadway. So some asshole brought a camera into a Broadway theater and recorded the whole thing. Honestly, sounds amazing considering it would have been like 2000. God, when was that? Was that 2004, 2005?
2005.
Yeah, that's okay. That jives because I got it in 2006, but
Yeah.
it was a little while.
Um. And well, I mean, speaking of bootlegs, though, like I have a bootleg of Jagged Little Pill, so there's like no cause for for like being skeptical about it because it's like uh, bootlegs should exist. Okay, bootlegs bring people theater to their homes, and I feel like bootlegs bring the actual productions more money because a person would see a bootleg and be like, oh, I kind of want to go see this live, and then they'll buy tickets to go see it live.
Yeah, theoretically, and then plus I'll be real with you. I think, well, Disney does do it, right? Disney has stage plays on Disney Plus,
Mm,
correct? Or is it
yep.
something that they've been doing or starting to do?
Since they did Hamilton, they've been starting to do that.
And I'm fine with that. And I was so psyched. It was I can't remember what year this was, but ABC, and they killed it because they made stupid decisions. ABC was bringing back their televised stage plays, but they screwed up. They were trying to shoot it like a movie, and it's like, no, shoot it like a stage play. You can have some close and medium shots, but like you can't do moving camera work. You got to shoot it like a stage play. It's both easier and cheaper, and it doesn't ruin the aesthetic of the
Yeah,
performance because at the end of
right.
the day, you're shooting a stage play.
Mm.
And I remember I was so excited they were doing Peter Pan, and I was like, because I love Peter Pan on stage. Peter Pan is such a fun play.
I will say
It's
though, I will say though, the what the it was like on NBC, like where in December they do like the live action, like the live
oh, did they still
version.
do it?
They yeah, last
Because
year
that's what I'm talking about.
yeah, because last year they did Annie.
Oh, did they still shoot it poorly though?
I mean, yeah.
I just I wish they would stop. Just shoot it like a play. Less is more sometimes.
Like the live the live versions of like those like famous Broadway shows. And they did Peter Pan a couple years ago, which I know that you were gonna bring it up. It sucked.
Yeah, because that was the one where Allison Williams starred as
Yeah,
Peter Pan, right? Yeah,
yeah,
that's the one I'm
yeah,
talking about.
yeah.
Oh, it was terrible. It was awful.
It was awful.
Yeah,
I
it
hated
was
every second of it. I was like, "Can this be
I turned it
over?"
off.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me too. Yeah.
I could not do this. It was just like, that's
Oh, I
unfortunate.
mean, Allison was really good. Sure, she's a good voice, but like, other than that, it was just garbage.
It was how it was shot. I couldn't do it.
Yeah,
It was just so bad that I couldn't even give attention to the performances because it was just like, no.
right, right,
And see,
exactly.
that's kind of how I had concerns, but I was comfortable with Steven Spielberg being at the helm because again, you can shoot it like a movie if it's a movie, but if you're still
Mm.
on a stage, it just doesn't compute. Wow, completely random, but I still need to see Les Miserables on stage. I really want to see it.
Yeah, we have it coming on. It's touring and it's coming here. It's coming to East Lansing in like a couple months, and
Really?
I'm gonna get tickets for that.
Oh, that's much further away than I thought it was.
What do you think?
I we're not going to talk about it. It's quite a bit further than I thought it was. I thought it was like 2 hours away. It's more like four. But
Oh, jeez,
that's still not that's still not terrible. But
mine's like an hour.
well, you're closer.
Give me a that look.
Oh, but yes. There was something I'm now drawing up. Oh, so the Rachel Zegler of it all.
Yep.
And then see, okay, maybe you can help me figure this out because I heard her starting to sing "Whistle While You Work."
Yep.
There's nothing wrong with the performance.
It's too pop.
Okay, that's what it was because I remember I'm listening to it and I didn't like it, but I'm like, there's nothing technically wrong here. Oh, and it's a little bit lower, which is weird because I know she can hit that range.
Yeah.
Like I know she can sing those notes. She sang higher in West Side Story, so I was kind of like,
Right.
I'm like, why are they doing this? Like Glee did that shit all the time, and it frustrated
Glee
me to
was
no
better
end.
at it.
Yeah, but even then, so like there were plenty, and it's so ironic because I think it's either at the end of season 3 and season 4
Hmm.
when they're at nationals, and they just let Leah Michelle sing. They don't correct her. I mean, I'm sure they do a little bit, but you know what I mean. Like they don't overdo it because
Mhm.
a lot of the Glee musical numbers were overproduced,
Yep.
even the Broadway ones. And And they just let her sing, and it was like, this is amazing. You could have had this the whole time, but for some reason, you guys want to put a filter over everything and make it sound terrible. I don't
Right.
understand it. Everyone here can sing, except Corey Monteith, but and he got there.
Speaking of the dead.
No. At the very beginning, there's even backstage, there's behind the scenes stuff saying that Corey
Right.
Monteith had trouble. He got there
He got
by
there.
season four, certainly. And it's like by season four, everyone on that stage can sing.
Yeah.
Like over half of them
Yeah.
had been on Broadway already.
Yeah.
Like, why are we doing this? It's literally cheaper too. It's literally cheaper to just mic them and record it. I don't understand.
My problem with the Snow White trailer was like the scene where she's like in the woods and she like lays down and she's
Yeah.
I'm like that doesn't
Well,
look
and was her dress CGI too? Because the whole thing just looks so fake.
yeah.
I know her dress wasn't CGI, by the way, but it looks like
Yeah.
they touched it up with
Yeah.
CGI, and I'm just like, why? And it's like, wow, Disney pulled a complete 180 on this one because they went from like, we're gonna change everything to like, nope, we're just gonna do a frame by frame remake, but we're gonna CGI the shit out of it. And I'm just like, I was thinking about that driving home too, and I'm just like, here's the thing about Snow White. Hold comments till the end because it's gonna sound bad until I explain the whole thought.
Yeah.
From pure cinema language, the movie in and of itself is not that stellar. It's fairly, by today's standards. In, the 1930s, it was all spectacle. It was the first full-length animated feature, and it looked damn good. Like, so half of the appeal of the movie is pure spectacle.
Mhm.
But nowadays, like, there's not really anything about the movie that's technically stellar, which makes sense because it was quite some time ago. So why would you remake that movie shot for shot almost, but using, I mean, frankly, just CGI that doesn't really look all that good?
Right.
And like, what year did the live action Lion King come out? Like, it's been a minute,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And those animals looked better. Like, so are they trying to make it look? Are they trying to make it look like this?
I mean, my opinion, the live action Lion King also
Oh,
it was
terrible.
terrible.
It was terrible, but
animals
at least
had no expression.
because they look so photorealistic. That's
Yeah.
that's the point I'm making. It's like, we know you can animate a deer that looks like a deer.
Yeah.
Like, you did it years ago, surely now. And like, we all saw Avatar.
Yeah.
Those space whales looked real. Come on.
Yeah.
Free Willy in space looked amazing. Like, we know you can do this. And the dwarfs, they look so fake. It looks so bad. Like, this is not going to be good. And I guess my whole thing is, when you have Disney money and this thing is going to be the shits and you're not going to make any money anyway, but that's your legacy, just reshoot the damn thing. I'm sure Rachel Zegler's not going to say no to more money. Although after this, she might, because like, reshoot it, redo the whole thing, and then put the shitty one on Disney Plus and be like, see, this is what we almost gave you. So can we get a thanks, please? Because this is what we were going to give you. And then it'll become a cult classic and get a life of its own, surely.
Oh my god, I can just see in the description, here's what we almost gave you. You're welcome.
It's in the same spirit, but a completely different message as the disclaimer at the beginning of Song of the South. It's like, listen, this has problems, but it exists.
Whereas
So
as this version of Snow White has every problem.
it has
But
all the problems,
it has
just
all the
no
problems.
racism.
There's no racism.
Oh,
It has
but yeah,
completely new problems.
I will say though, in defense of Rachel Zegler, I remember being
We can defend her?
Her performance as Maria, yes, I
Yes.
can.
Okay.
I can do that. Because I remember when so it's one of my favorite scenes in the original when Maria and Tony see each other from across the room, and I really prefer how the original did it, but I understand the newer movie, it's more realistic.
Mhm.
I love the effect they do where everything kind of blacks out and disappears except for them, and the
Yeah.
wider shot while they're dancing, I think comes across a little
Yeah.
bit better. It's a little hokey in the new one because Maria just kind of starts dancing around him, and even Anson, what's Anson is in, I always forget his name. Ansel
Ansel
Elgort.
Elgort. Yeah.
Oh, good for me. I remembered.
Yay.
He just kind of looks at her weird when he first starts doing it because it is kind of just out of nowhere behind the bleachers, and he just kind of has this look
Oh
on his
yeah,
face,
that
like,
scene where
yeah,
she has
he's just
her
kind of
arms out and like.
very initially he's just kind of like, the fuck are you doing? But he gets into it eventually. But yeah, it's much. I prefer it in the I prefer the dancing part of it in the beginning, but I don't know, the talking part's a little bit better too. But that's the scene where I was like, oh, okay, I see this. I totally see this.
Mm.
And I'm not a fan, or I should say, I wasn't a fan of Ansel Elgort until West Side Story.
Yeah.
Because he brought it. He came
Yeah.
to play. And kudos because apparently he sang a couple of numbers live on the soundstage,
Mm.
which bravo. I know one of them was Maria. When he was singing Maria, apparently a lot of that was live on set. So
Yeah.
it's like that's another song that I really, really like from West Side Story, Maria. I do sing it a lot when it
Mm.
comes on my playlist. It's just fun to sing.
I just I remember that song and I can't help but think if this was like real life and you just like you're out in back of you do it like
Okay. Okay, I have to ask you, have you seen God, this is old, so you may not have seen it. It's very old, but it's hilarious. I think it was around the same time that like High School Musical 2 came out and Zac Efron was on SNL and oh God, they do this scene where it's what's his name in High School Musical? Troy? Troy
Troy?
Barton?
Yeah.
Yeah. Troy comes back after his first year of college to speak to his high school. He tells he tells them all what it was like. And he was like, I get on campus and I was nervous but excited. So I started singing a song that I wrote, nervous but excited. And they were like, and did everyone join in and sing with you? And he goes, no, they did not. It's a great skit. It's very fun. He was like, people don't just spontaneously break into song and dance in the real world. You can't do it.
But like he's in that alleyway and I can just picture like the neighbors being like, fucking shut the fuck up.
Some kid out there being like, Maria, 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 Maria. And everybody's like, shh. I feel
They all
to me, it seems like you could very easily make like a parody version of West Side Story and make it absolutely hilarious.
you could.
Yeah.
Just
And
like
actually
he's just
get Andrew Garfield to play well, he'd have to play Bernardo for this joke to work for this joke to work, but I'm gonna say it anyway because it's funny, damn it. His Riff pulls out his knife and he goes, oh no, it's my weakness, it's small knives. It could be quite funny. There's some bits you could do because at least in the original, like the knives are very small. Like, don't get me wrong, they'll do damage, but they're quite small knives. And it just kind of like there's they just pull out the knives and they're like, duh, and it's like a pocket knife. It's like you'd be
like
much better off with a stick.
win with a stick, but you'd be better off.
Oh, you'd absolutely win with a stick.
You
You
think?
got more range. Oh yeah, yeah. To quote Chad from Shadiversity on YouTube, it's like, why complicate things when you have good old stick? It's like I can hit you from far away. I can throw it. It doesn't break on me.
Oh my
Like,
god.
never underestimate the power of a good stick.
Uh, But yeah, like I can totally picture like all the neighbors going onto their balconies and just watching him, and you'd be like, "It's 3 o'clock in the morning."
Yeah, although they begin the musical number America with the neighbors, so that's a nice little touch too, because
Yeah,
they all kind of start out together.
yeah,
But yeah, Tony's over there just like singing his poor little heart out at 3 a.m. in the morning. So you would imagine in New York City, you would imagine there would be quite a few people telling him uh where he can shove it, you know.
I
That's the
want
other thing
that
too,
version. I want that version.
right? Somebody just throws a brick at him and then the credits roll. Uh, that's another thing. There are some scenes in the new version that I don't really know who to blame for this, but they're just Tony's very cringe at some moments, like when they're on
Yeah,
the subway and he's like, "I love you and I want to be with you forever," and Maria's like, "I met you last night, dude. Like, let's calm
right,
down."
right.
Like,
But then if you like cut to like the church scene, like they're in that little chapel thing,
yeah,
think of our hands as one hand, think of our hearts as one heart, and like you just literally 10 minutes ago said like I just met, and then you're singing like, oh yeah, we're in love.
maybe she likes churches. I don't know. But
She
yeah,
likes
that is
church.
one thing. That is one thing where in the original, at the very least, it's consistent because it's like it's very clear. Like they see each other from across the room and they're like, "We're doing this. We're head over heels in love with each other." And like, yes, it's stupid, but they're also teenagers, so just go with it. It's Romeo and Juliet. But yeah, for because maybe that's why it seems so cringe on Tony's part in the new version because Maria is very much like let's calm down. But then
That's comment.
in the very next scene, they're like doing like the faux wedding ceremony, and it's kind of
Yeah.
like I don't know. This doesn't jive. This does not jive.
Even then, like she's also singing in like I think it's like the seamstress's place or whatever, and like she's cleaning and she's singing like "I Feel Pretty," talking about
Which
how she's in love with a
God, I
wonderful
hate that song.
boy, and I'm
That's the
like,
only song I don't like. I hate that song so much because it's so goofy. And like I get it. It's supposed to be a lighthearted, fun number. I will say though, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing because they do change the order of some of the musical
"Mm,
numbers.
yeah,
Like for example, they change, which I guess is actually more accurate to the Broadway play,
mm,
which I have not seen. I really should. I want to see it on stage, but I guess they do uh play it cool. The song "Play It Cool"
mm,
is before the Rumble, whereas in the original film version, it's after.
yeah,
And I might be biased. It does to me, it does make more sense to be after the Rumble, but I
yeah,
don't know. That
yeah."
could just be my bias. But I feel pretty being after the Rumble. It changes the tone of the song a little bit. It makes it a lot more tragic
Right.
because it's like we know what just happened, but Maria still doesn't know.
And also, I know I'm flip flopping all over the place, but whatever. uh, the scene of like when who's the one that like shoots Tony?
That's Chino.
Chino? Yeah. Like,
Chino's way better in the new movie too.
yeah.
He's just a more fleshed out character. He's
Yeah.
just kind of there in the original.
Yeah.
Except Tony's doubly stupid in the first one because he's like, "Me, Chino," and then is surprised when Chino kills him.
But it's just like I think about that scene and I'm like, this is Anita's fault. This is all Anita's fault because
Yes and no. See, I don't. Okay, so like logically, yes, but at the same time, let's consider what Anita's been through in one day,
yeah,
one night, even not even a whole day.
not the whole day.
It's all happened tonight. Her boyfriend, her lover, theoretically her fiance, because they were basically married,
Mm,
um, dies, and she finds out that her brother's sister, who is basically like her sister,
mm,
is, stooping the guy that killed him,
mm.
And then she is asked with a straight face to help them both out escape. And she agrees to because she loves Maria that much. And then she goes to try to do that thing and then gets assaulted, accosted, and all the negative things we talked about before. And then after all that, I can see why she does what she does. I get it. It's not a good move, but I can't say that I would be any better in a situation like
It
that.
was like it's more of like, you know, you're not thinking clearly because like you're filled with all this like rage and like
Well, and Anita didn't ask for any of that. In fact, especially in the new movie, she says multiple times, like, "Why are you doing this? This is ridiculous. This is stupid. You know, blah blah blah. Why do you always fight?" And she kind of, brushes it off as like, "Ah, boys will be boys," that kind of thing. Which they all kind of do to a point, because that's that's one thing that is very subtle in both the first and the new one. I think they do a little bit better job of it in the first. Is once the knives come out, there's a moment of realization on everyone's part that this just became real, and none of them have the tools to de-escalate it and be like, whoa, 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 hang on, like,
there's no mediator in the whole situation.
well, and none of them are mature enough and can get out of their own way enough to be like, wait, hold on, time out, like knives, like, hang on, let's back up.
Right.
Like, and Tony's trying, but that's one of the things I like in the new one is he finally gets his rage blinders on, which fits the character more. And I do like that, because it always did seem kind of silly, or not silly. It feels like it comes a little bit out of nowhere when Tony ends up stabbing Bernardo in the first one, because it doesn't have, like, you get it, because Bernardo kills Rafe, but then Tony just kind of randomly picks up the knife, whereas they establish that when Tony gets mad, Tony will fuck a dude up. But he does. And I love in the new version, which I like it in the old version too, but I just think that and I want to give credit where credit's due, and I have a horrible memory, so bear with me. David Alvarez, who plays Bernardo, the look on his face after he stabs Riff. I keep saying Rafe. It's Riff. Rafe is from Pearl Harbor. Riff, when he stabs Riff, the look on his face when he realized what's just happened. And it's another moment of like, oh, this is real. This isn't pretend anymore.
Right. Because like didn't like in the beginning like be like before before the rumble, didn't they say like no knives, no weapons, just our fists or something?
That's what that's exactly, because Tony convinces them to do a one-on-one fight with just skin, because before that they are constantly escalating when they're naming weapons like knives, chains, bottles, guns, blah 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 blah. And then Tony comes in and does the whole like, oh, are you too chicken to use your hands?
And like, where the hell did that knife come from, old son?
Well, they both brought them because, again, they figured that there was going to be an escalation. Which is kind of like, and I love the fact when they have the war council, because it's absurd on its face. You're planning a fight and there's going to be rules. Like, come on. Like, everybody knows. And I love how they actually believe, each party believes that the other will honor the end result of the fight. It's always kind of like the concept of the rules of war for honor's sake is kind of silly on its face, because the only way you get people to adhere to rules of war is with the threat of more war. Like, even in today's international stage, it's always a little bit laughable when they're like, well, yeah, you can fight, but you can only use these weapons. And the only reason they adhere to that is because they know that if they don't adhere to those rules, that somebody with bigger guns will come in and make them obey the rules. So
and then it all ends with Tony getting shot in the back by Chino. and then Maria just running to him as he's dying.
Well, he's about to fall.
He's about to fall, and catching him, and then like literally draping herself over the body.
Yeah.
And like as they're trying to like pick him up to take him to get married, essentially.
It's a
She-
great speech.
she's like, no.
Yeah.
And then she grabs the gun, and it was like, how many bullets can I use and still have enough for me?
Yeah, I love that speech. It, it's a very powerful moment, and I mean, at the end of the day, this is a tragedy, and I have a really really odd love of tragedy stories, and probably this is probably why, honestly, because I love West Side Story so much. Um, both movies do a really good job with that scene, though. The new one in particular, just because it's more contemporary, feels a little bit more real, but both are good. The first one does kind of feel like a little bit stagey,
Yeah. Yeah.
which again, it was a different kind of acting, so I'm
Yeah.
not cutting it up. It just is. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, what's your favorite musical number from West Side Story?
Uh, you're gonna be so bad, but it's the one that you hate the most.
Oh, you like I Feel Pretty?
Yeah.
That's just a personal preference for me. I just don't care for it as a musical number. I like a lot of them, but I gotta say my favorite is Quintet, which is
Yeah.
the first the I don't know how many, I don't recall how many acts, but it's the mid climax right before the Rumble when everybody's getting ready,
Yeah.
It's such a great song. And it's a
Like,
little bit of everything. So
like also, I just forgot I just remember too when she picks up the gun. She's like, how do I hold this? And like,
yeah, how do I hold it?
I'm like, oh, wait a minute, you don't know how to hold it? Why are you even having it?
Well, she's about to use it on some people.
If you don't know how to hold it, you should hold it.
Yeah, it's kind of like Chino in that moment should have been like, hand it to me, I'll show you.
And then just run.
Get the gun out of the angry girl's hands, please. Um, but yeah, so I love me some West Side Story. I actually went and saw it in the theater twice when it came out, and both times I was like, why is this place not packed? I don't understand. Because it's a really good movie.
Yeah,
And I
when
don't
I
think
went to go see
it didn't get the love.
it wasn't packed either. I'm like, why?
I mean, especially after I'd seen it, I was like, no, this is great. Like this is
Yeah.
phenomenal. And it's a shame because like Les Miserables was packed when they made the theatrical version of that, which that was, I mean, it was Hugh Jackman, so I kind of get it. But yeah, I don't really understand. Like I can't imagine, at least where I lived, I can't imagine people were still afraid of COVID that much.
Yeah.
Like, because I don't know. And I will say though, that was still at the time when theaters were only doing half capacity.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
but I mean, when I say there might have been one other person at one of the screenings I went to. Other than that, it was kind of cool because I like it when the movie theater's empty, but at the same
Mhm.
time, I want these movies to make money so that they'll keep making them. Um, so I was a
Yeah.
little disappointed with that, but
Yeah, like when me and my mom went to go see Dear Evan Hansen, we saw it in IMAX, which is like, if you want to see, if you ever go see a movie musical adaptation again, go see it in IMAX because it's phenomenal in IMAX.
I'm a Dolby guy myself. I mean, don't get me wrong, IMAX is cool. Like, but I'm an AMC Dolby guy.
Mm-hmm.
I got spoiled. The first movie I saw in AMC Dolby was 1917, and I'm sorry, the moving sound, oh, I love it.
Yeah.
And in my movies and TV shows, I like bright, vibrant, high contrast colors, and Dolby is just chef's kiss
Yeah.
because it's one of my it's it's part of my identity, honestly, because it's why I like Sony cameras
Mhm.
more than Canon because I'm sorry, the color's just better. Color's way better.
Mm.
I don't like Canon and I love Sony lenses and my favorite well, one of my favorite television shows ever is One Tree Hill. I don't know if you've seen it, but one of the reasons I love it so much is because it's so beautifully shot and the colors are so rich and vibrant.
Mm.
and I dig it. So, and so many movies these days are dark, and I was afraid that the new West Side Story, because the trailer kind of made it look like it was going to be dark. Thankfully, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean, though? Like, so many movies today are so dark and drab, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
ugh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even somehow the Snow White trailer made it look darker than it should have been, and I was just like, why?
I'm like, no. And it made it look crappier.
Gal Gadot. I will say, when she was in the full Queen makeup, I can see it.
I can see that. Yeah.
But we're gonna get to see CGI Gal Gadot too when she
Oh
transforms
my,
into the hag.
I forgot.
That's gonna be awesome.
Okay, quick
I don't
question.
want to.
Do I have to? Do I have to go see it?
I mean, technically no, but I mean, you're gonna get them views in a way you can like you. Here's the thing: you don't have to, but in a way you kind of do. Because I mean, you're a Disney podcast. Speaking of, have you seen Deadpool and Wolverine yet?
No.
Should. It's good shit.
I haven't even seen the first one either because I'm not into those movies.
Hey, fair enough. They're not for everybody.
Did you?
You'll appreciate what?
I was gonna say, did you know Deadpool's at Disneyland?
Yes, I know.
Yeah,
my goal is to convert you.
I know. Oh yeah, you. Yeah, I forgot that you sent me those videos, and I'm like, fine, just leave me
In
alone now.
fact, if you were a showman, you'd be the greatest.
I'm like, okay, fine. You turn me. I hope you're happy.
I am. I will say this though, Deadpool and Wolverine will make you appreciate NSYNC way more than you ever thought you ever would.
Mm. Although I heard from somebody that they're going away uh, at Disneyland in like a month. That's going away. I'm like,
I think that's a bad decision, but maybe, who knows?
I don't know why.
I don't either, but personally, I think Deadpool's the kind of character that you would just have somebody meandering around the park all day and just he can show up anywhere and
Yeah.
it'll work because that's kind of Deadpool's thing.
See, but in my opinion, I feel like Deadpool would be better at Universal. Just
Yeah, but they
my
don't own it.
yeah. Oh right, yeah, they
Unfortunately, they
don't.
don't. Yeah, no, that's a Disney property now.
Oh my god, poor people.
I don't know. I kind of like the idea of Deadpool just showing up randomly in some of the shows.
Oh my god, did you see Agatha all along that promo for like
No, I have not.
the one of it? It's terrifying.
I don't know because I didn't watch WandaVision. I haven't watched any of the Disney Plus like Marvel series because
Time.
I don't have time and I don't particularly care either.
Yeah.
And my biggest critique of the MCU, and I know Justin shares my view of this too, is like if I have to do homework to know what's going on in a movie, then it's a bad movie. Because again, you should be able to explain in your narrative anything the audience needs to know.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, if I have to have watched a 12 episode series to understand what's happening, then you're not moving properly.
Yep. Yeah.
So just my 2 cents. Not a problem that West Side Story has at all. You know what's up. You know what's going on.
I know what's going on.
Yeah. You know.
Everyone that's listening to this podcast right now knows what's going on.
I would think so.
I would hope so.
Yeah. Although you may have gotten a random click and they're like, what is this? Never watched West Side Story. Is it any good? I can't imagine they hung around this long if they weren't interested, but hey, you never know.
They might have just hung out.
Maybe somebody has YouTube playing while they sleep though. And then this video just came on randomly and they woke up like we used to do at 3 a.m. when we left the TV on and it had like the greatest like power ballads
Yeah.
of the 80s and 90s.
Mhm.
So good. And they just wake up and they're like, huh?
Mhm.
West Side Story? Uh, we can all hope.
Oh, I have also other news I'm gonna share with you after this podcast because like this is amazing. So yeah. But thank you, Jake, for coming on.
You're welcome. I called this. I said I wanted West Side Story.
I
So
know, and like you called it, and I was like, okay, you're getting it. I'm like,
it's mine.
you texted me twice about wanting to do it. I'm like, okay, you're getting it. I already told you you can have it.
I just wanted to make sure because it's so good and I love it so much.
I love it too.
I have
But
shown it to people though, and they clearly don't get it. They're just clearly not interested. And they're like, why are these two? I'm like, they're in love, damn it. I know they
what's
just
not
met,
to
but
get?
that's in the script.
What's not to get?
It's like, listen, they're stupid children.
You're
And
stupid kids.
there are clearly no adults around anywhere. So
No,
that's the root of all this problem. Except for Doc.
exactly,
But Doc's outnumbered.
exactly.
He's just like, why are you doing this?
Why are you doing this?
I just imagine Don Knotts is like, why are you all doing this?
Or even Rita Moreno's character being dog is just like, why are you all like also like why are you doing this?
Yeah, I did kind of like she had a little bit more bite to her as Doc than the original did, and
Yeah.
I kind of dug it. And I did, when she's teaching Tony Spanish, I do love when he's like, how do I say I want to be with you forever? She's like, you sure you don't want to ask her out for coffee first?
I was like, ooh, she got the funnies, yay.
Yeah, and she's like, which Rita Moreno is underrated comedically. She is hilarious.
Yeah.
She's quite funny.
Mm.
Also, if I remember correctly, she was pretty good friends with Lucille Ball, was she not?
Yes, she was.
I thought so. I thought I remembered that.
Yeah.
Oh God, I can imagine those two. So funny.
Ugh. But yep, again,
So funny.
oh, so funny. But again, thank you, Jake, for coming on.
You're most
Uh,
welcome anytime.
and thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next time. Bye, guys.